Welcome back to Decode Healthcare with Herschel. In part 4, we took on the thorax, right? But today we're going up against the absolute big boss of the 20,000 series. Yep, we're talking about the spine. Let me tell you, if you can code the spine, you can pretty much code anything. To make this intimidating section a total breeze, we're going to map it out into a few distinct zones. We'll start with conquering the spine in general, dive right into percutaneous vertebroplasty, crack the golden rules of arthrodesis, and finish strong with spinal instrumentation add-ons.
All right, Section 1, Conquering the Spine.
We are covering CPT codes 22010 through 22899 today. It's notoriously the hardest section to code, but we're going to break down this highly technical language so that literally a 15-year-old could understand it. We'll start with the least invasive stuff and work our way up to the major reconstructive surgeries. Moving into Section 2, Percutaneous Vertebroplasty, covering codes 22510 to 22512. So what is this? Well, the word percutaneous simply means going through the skin with a needle. Imagine a concrete building pillar that's starting to crush or crack under way too much weight. This procedure is essentially a surgeon injecting liquid medical-grade concrete, bone cement, right into that collapsing spinal pillar to reinforce it and make it rock solid again. As you can see here, the needle, which is called a trocar, enters the back of the spine and directly fills that fractured vertebral body with cement. It's a very precise, targeted fix. But here is where you have to be super careful as a coder. You absolutely must distinguish vertebroplasty from a very similar procedure called vertebral augmentation, which a lot of folks know as kyphoplasty. The CPT guidelines are incredibly specific on this. Augmentation includes creating a cavity first. Usually, the surgeon inflates a tiny medical balloon inside the crushed bone to create space and restore its height before injecting any cement. So, if a balloon is used to create a cavity, you use the augmentation codes. If it's just a direct cement injection, you stick with vertebroplasty. Section 3. Orthodesis and its golden rules. This spans codes 22532 all the way through 22819. Let's define arthrosis. Simply put, it's a spinal fusion. When the discs between your vertebrae wear out, every tiny movement causes severe bone-on-bone pain. To fix this, the surgeon performs an arthrosis to literally fuse or lock two or more of those spine bones together into one solid piece. No movement equals no pain. Now, to code this accurately, you cannot just guess. You always have to find two critical pieces of information in the operative report. I called these the two golden rules of arthrodesis: the surgical approach and tracking segments versus interspaces. Let's break these down. Rule number 1 is the approach. How did the surgeon get to the spine? The CPT codes change completely depending on this. An anterior approach means they went through the front, literally making an incision in the stomach or neck and carefully moving organ aside to reach the front of the spine. A posterior approach means they went through the back, cutting through the thick back muscles. You've got to spot this detail right away. Rule number 2 is all about anatomy. The CPT guidelines clearly define a segment as the actual solid bone itself, the vertebral body. The interspace is the non-bony disc compartment sandwiched right in between them. When a surgeon fuses the spine, they're generally prepping that inner space to lock the two segments together. Which brings us to the actual coding math. Remember, your primary CPT code only covers the very first level of the fusion. If the surgeon fuses multiple levels of the spine, say they lock 3 bones together, you use your primary code for that first connection, and then you have to use specific add-on codes for every extra segment or interspace they fused. You never just report one single code for a multi-level fusion. That takes us to Section 4, Spinal Instrumentation Add-ons, covering codes 22840 to 22870. This brings up a really logical question. If arthrodesis is just the process of prepping the bones to fuse, what keeps the spine perfectly rigidly still for the months it takes those bones to actually grow together? The answer is spinal instrumentation. This is all the heavy-duty hardware installed by the surgeon to stabilize the construct. We're talking about titanium rods, heavy plates, and pedicle screws drilled directly into the bone. And here is your absolutely crucial survival rule for the zone, pulled straight from the CPT guidelines. Instrumentation procedures are reported separately and in addition to the definitive procedure. That means instrumentation codes are always add-on codes. You literally never code them by themselves. They are always attached to your main arthrodesis procedure. But which hardware code do you actually use? Take a look at the structural difference here. On the left, we have non-segmental instrumentation. The rod is fixed only at the very top and the very bottom. Think of it like a bridge anchoring only at the two shores. On the right, we have segmental instrumentation. Notice how this rod has screws or hooks anchoring it to every single bony segment in between the top and bottom endpoints. Getting this specific distinction right in the operative report is the absolute key to choosing the correct add-on code. If the surgeon just anchors the top and bottom, it's non-segmental. If they are drilling screws into 3, 4, or 5 consecutive bones to attach to that rod, that is segmental for sure. I know this feels like a ton of complex anatomy and incredibly strict rule following, but honestly, with these golden rules for vertebroplasty, arthrodesis, and instrumentation, you can absolutely master spine coding with a bit of practice. Just refer back to your CPT guidelines every single time. Oh, and make sure you subscribe, because in our next explainer, we're going to decode the abdomen and the shoulder, moving right along into the 22900 to 23929 code range. The musculoskeletal system is massive, I know. But as you've seen today, breaking it down rule by rule, focusing on the approach, the levels, and the hardware makes even the big boss totally conquerable. So arm yourself with these guidelines, trust the process, and ask yourself, what code will you decode next?